and today we're going to be looking at the scenario where Germany wins World War One. Let's get into it. So, if you know anything about World War One, it was the Central Powers, so Austria, Hungary, Germany, the Ottoman Empire, and Bulgaria, against the Entente Powers, which were the Russians, the French, the Italians, the British, the Americans, a couple others here, Serbia, Romania, a bunch of others joined the war, Portugal. Yeah. And today we're going to be looking at a scenario. Well, this is episode 1 of the series, and I hope you enjoy. So if you remember the end of the Alternate Future season 1, not saying there's going to be season 2, but who knows, you remember that Alex Einstein propagandized the Parliament of Germany so he could become the ruler of the country. And he's the ruler of the country. Yeah. And he knows about what's going to happen with him losing World War One, so he is going to form the official alliance with Austria-Hungary, like this. Yeah. And then this alliance is going to be being offered a couple countries, only 2 actually. The Bulgarians are being offered to join it, which they do, and the Italians are being offered to join it. But at around the same time, the Russians, alongside the French and the British, will be making another alliance, the Square Alliance. And this alliance is square, if you never guessed. Yeah. And we're going to talk about you later. But for now, we're talking about Italy. Because Italy is having some issues right now, like politically, because both sides are pressuring them to join the alliance. The Circle Alliance is pressuring them, and so is the Square Alliance. Yeah, and they are both offering different amounts of territory. So what the blue side is offering, they're offering this piece of territory, and they're basically the same territories they offered in real life. So a bunch of this Adriatic coasty area. And what does Alex Einstein offer? Knowing that what he offered that Germans offered originally, he's going to offer more to the Italians. And they're going to offer a bunch of areas here, maybe some areas here in America, and expand their colonies, and yeah. Basically, and a part of India. And basically, the Italians are more happy of this. Oh, and southern France. And this makes the Italians more happy. And, this, unlike real life, is going to make the Italians join the Circle Alliance. Which is pretty big, I would say. But time to do a big rampage of countries joining alliances. Mainly the Square Alliance. Because the Romanians, the Serbians, the Montenegrins, the Albanians, and the Greeks will all be joining the Square Alliance in order to counter the rivals of Italy, the Ottoman Empire, and Austria-Hungary, and maybe possibly Bulgaria. And also Portugal is going to join the Square Alliance. And, let's get this war started. And, they're going to start the exact same way. Well, you two are going to be... Oh, and you... wait! There's these colonies around the world that I've got to outline because there's so many of them, mainly across Africa, East Africa, and the final colony, if I can get to it, there. And that is what the Circle Alliance looks like. Yeah. And, who is the Circle Alliance going to invade? Who is Alex Einstein going to invade? Alex Einstein is going to propose to the rest of the Circle Alliance that they should invade the Balkans. And, that's what they do. They invade the Balkans to maybe try to stop them, as the Austrians will send their troops into Romania and Serbia and Montenegro, and the Italians send troops into Albania, as the Bulgarians will also be sending troops into Greece, Serbia, and Romania. And eventually the front lines go... the wrong layer. Let me do that. And eventually Albania falls, and shortly after Serbia does, but Romania is still around, looking like this. And this was a pretty quick defeat in the Balkans, lasting about a few months. And this makes the rest of the alliance mad. And well, Russia declares war on the Circle Alliance. And shortly after, France, Portugal, and the British will all be declaring war on the Circle Alliance, which is a lot, and Alex Einstein expected this as well. Who would not? Because you're kind of invading your own allies, and I'm gonna try to quickly color in all these nations. And here's all of them. Oh, except that. And this is what the front lines look like. So, what Alex Einstein was expecting this, and he is going to be being pushed back as he kind of leaves Greece over to the Italians and the Bulgarians, as the Austro-Hungarians will be pushing and fully defeating Romania and start their push against Russia. As Alex Einstein's Germany will be, well, doing this, as they will be pushing into the Great Russian Empire. But the Russian Empire is going to start pushing back in the northern areas towards Kaliningrad, and, well, yeah, like this. And this is what the front line looks like. The French are going to be the first ones to actually invade the Italians, and just like real life, Alex Einstein is invading Belgium with their Belgian Congo. We'll talk about that later, because well, Alex Einstein is invading into Belgium and quickly takes it out and starts their invasion into France. And with France sending troops over here, they will be being pushed back past the border wall. And this is what the front line looks like. Time to talk about colonies, because these colonies are very weak as they fall very quickly as the French take them over, like this. And well, none of them survive as well. How are you surviving when you're completely surrounded? You aren't? That's the answer? Yep. And, well, the Italian colonies stay, as they don't really see Italy as a threat, but they still go ahead and go into Libya, and will be taking over all this colony. But the Italians, where they've been practicing at, and where they want the most, is over here in the Horn of Africa, where they will be taking these territories. Oh wait, I forgot to color these. Yeah, there's just so many. There's probably a couple more I've missed. Yeah. And then the Italians will be invading into Somaliland area and eventually Djibouti and taking all this northern African area, Horn of Africa area. When we go over here, the Greeks will fall, and the French are going to be continuing to push into Italy, as nobody really expected the French to do this. But they, just like Napoleon, they pushed for Vienna. But unlike last time, also known as 100 years ago, yeah, they will be, well, in being pushed back, unlike what Napoleon did. And the goal of Alex Einstein is to get France out of the war. They want to get France out of this war in order to, well, take all these colonies. Look how big the colonies are. Yeah. And they will be pushing back over in the northern area. But the southern area, where they did well originally, they won't be doing so well in, as they get pushed back to the German borders and the French start pushing in. Yeah, and this is what the front line looks like. When we go back to Russia, Russia is going to be, with their full might on the Germans, they will be focusing on Germany until Alex Einstein sends some of his troops in and pushes them back. He's using World War II Blitzkrieg tactics, by the way, and because he knows them, because it's from 300, 400 years in the future, the Russians will be pushing back, reaching Bulgaria and taking Sofia, which is the capital, and will be starting their liberation process. And so far, it looks like they're losing. Yeah. And then the next country who already joined was automatically in the war earlier, but now is officially going to be in the war. At least I'm talking about last World War, or the Ottomans. The Ottomans joined the war. As the Ottomans will be sending their troops into European areas that are occupied by Russia, and well, they will be pushing the Russians back. And they will also be pushing into the Caucasian area, and then start their push into the Egyptian area. As this was very unexpected, so Egypt falls. And eventually, with help from the Italians, they will slither their way throughout the entire Arabian area, and even send some of the troops through this Arabian desert and make their landings here, eventually taking the UAE and all this. And this is pretty good for the Entente, no Central Powers, as they've just gained a bunch of their territory back. But oh wait, Belgium fell, so Belgian Congo goes with that. And well, so with Belgian Congo, the Germans, or Alex, are going to be using Belgian Congo to push into territories and push into the Italian colony, or push to the Italian colony, as they will be taking all this territory. And his goal is to basically make France fall. And he sends his troops throughout here, takes Corsica, and then the Italians will be making their landing in Tunisia. And then they will send troops at the Bering Strait, through here, and into Portugal, where they will be doing an operation with the Germans and the Italians into Portugal, where they will be defeating Portugal. Yeah. Why would they do this? That is for obvious reasons, and that reason is to gain their colonies. Because, well, yeah. And they will be utilizing these colonies in order to fully take back the East African colony and a bunch more of Africa. And they will be pushing down to the southern African areas, as South African areas about to fall, as the British will still be holding on to this. But the French won't be able to hold on to Madagascar, as these guys have taken over a bunch of southern France. But the thing is, the British sent a telegram over to the Americans in order to have them join the war. And, at the same time, the Germans sent their telegram through here to Mexico in order to declare on America. And, basically the telegram. I think that's how you say it. As it goes through, it doesn't reach America and actually reaches Mexico. And Mexico will be accepting this. And, this is something, as Mexico declares war on America, holding America into the war, as Mexico will, on the side of the Entente, Central Powers, will be moving all their troops over into the Americans. They wouldn't fall this quickly, but hypothetically. Let's just say that's throughout the next few years, as Jamaica falls to the Mexican navies with help from Germany, and so does French Guiana and Guyana, as all of South America has fallen. And then they can start sending troops over to the Pacific to help with Southeast Asia. And South Africa falls. And then when we go over here, another country joins the war. Spain. Spain joins the war, oh my. Let me get rid of this. As the Spanish will be sending their troops into France, and France gets fully pushed back here. And with Spain joining the war, that also means they get their colonies, or colony. Yeah, that. And they can start pushing into France as well, in Africa and Europe. As when we go to North Africa, the Algerian colonies will fall. And then, the biggest fall of all, the French. As the French will be losing Paris from having to fight with the Italians, the Spanish, and the Germans, and partially Austro-Hungarian thingies, yeah. They will be going ahead and collapsing, which is really bad because France kind of controls a lot of colonies. And if I can highlight why are you here, Liberia? You're American. At least I think you are. Let me just outline. No, that's Portuguese. No, this is British. Yeah. And with France falling and losing all the colonies, this is not so good for the Entente, as they lose all of their territories over in Africa, Western Africa, and eventually lose Libya. With the help of Spain, they will also be able to take back and fully push Egypt away, and eventually the Egyptian area will be forced to surrender, officially having majority of Africa over to the Central Powers. Time to talk about Russia, as Russia will be making a deal with, well, the Germans and basically a deal to basically have them live. Civil War time in Russia. And as the Civil War communist people, guys, will be going in here making the huge rebellions. And, well, Leningrad is taken, and Moscow becomes the capital. Germany, well, will be declaring war on the Russians, and a surprise, but not so surprise at the same time, betrayal, as the Germanics will be destroying Russia alongside the rebels, and will be able to, this is over the course of a few years, as the Germans betray these rebels, and, well, Russia is basically forced to fall. As what else can you do? You can't fight the world. Yeah, you just can't. As Russia falls, this is throughout the course of a few years, and throughout all this time, Mexico's front looks like this now. That's just to say a time span. As the Italians and the Spanish and the Germans and everybody else will be landing in America alongside Mexico, the Americans will be losing as this was an unexpected attack from everybody. And well, oh my. The British invasion has to happen, as basically all the rest of the colonies are British, Canada and Oceania. Oh wait, I forgot to mention you. Indochina is now gone. Let me actually, there. As the Indo-Chinese will be pushing into Burma and Indian colonies. And well, Indian independence movements are popular as Indian independence movement rise across the country, and eventually Indian-British rule is gone, and it's up to Germany as they betray the rebels and take them. Yeah. And well, with that, Malaysia will also fall, and over time, Oceania will be getting more and more invasions from Africa and everywhere into it in order to, well, stop the British from taking over the world, even though Alex Einstein / Germany already has. And this is what the war looks like. It's basically Britain versus America. Yeah. As the Germans will be coming in from this side into Alaska and connecting it with Mexico, they would be going through these plains over here. Oh, the British. The British are being surrounded as they get landings everywhere, despite the not so superior anymore Navy, and well, London falls. Because, well, around this time, when Britain falls, the Russians also fall, just for a time span. And as the Germans, throughout these final few years, or months, depending on what you think, let's just say months, well, America's left. And America is all left. As well, New York falls and DC is kind of gone. Not gone yet, but eventually they all push in and take DC, officially ending this World War, World War I. And that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Alternate History of the World. See you in the next episode, and bye!